Not all protein is created equal, and we're gonna cover the best proteins that you can use to get the biggest gains possible, and we're gonna start right now. Whey, casein, even hemp protein, pea protein, soy protein, corn protein, all of these things have been studied and researched, but what does the science actually tell us about the muscle protein synthesis that our body experiences after we ingest these different types of protein? I've been triggering a lot of people lately with my comments on carnivores, on vegans, even on snowflake powerlifters. We actually even hosted a community poll on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, and you ring that notification bell so you can be part of a poll in the future. And you guys even said in that poll that 77% of you prefer just getting your protein from meat products. 9% of you said that you prefer getting your protein from whey. 10% said that you like getting your protein from dairy, so like yogurt, milk, not isolated like whey would be. And then 5% of you said that you prefer to get your protein from plant-based products. And you still ask me, what are the best types of protein that you can take to optimize your muscular performance? So what are the key components behind building muscle mass? The first big factor is that we have to resistance-based train. That second key factor is that within our nutrition, we have to be getting enough essential amino acids and branched chain amino acids. And then on top of that, if we're pulling blood, okay, we can actually see predictors in muscle mass growth or muscle protein synthesis if our amino acid level is high enough inside of our blood. That's one of the ways that you can actually study and predict muscle protein synthesis after a resistance-based training session. And then finally, as we build strength and as we're actually doing resistance-based training, we know that there might be muscular damage or there might be donation of myonuclei. We know that along those lines, that's actually how we're going to get stronger. That's how our body is rebuilding or trying to renovate our muscles so that we can gain a little bit more muscular hypertrophy. And these factors all influence muscle mass, muscular innervation, and then ultimately muscular strength. But what protein is going to provide the best ways to be anabolic? So that brings us to our discussion point. Can plant protein be as effective as a milk protein? Fortunately, Pinkers, I think that's how you pronounce it, Pinkers, maybe it's Pinkers, and his research group, all of his research colleagues, put together a phenomenal study where they compared plant protein blends to milk protein isolate and what that performance resulted in. So milk protein isolate, otherwise known as MPI, is 80% casein and 20% whey. So it's not as anabolic as just straight whey, but it's still understood to be very beneficial for being anabolic. And then they took that and they compared it to the plant derivatives, to the plant blend. Now, some of the issues that we've seen with plant proteins is that in an isolated form, they're really low in specific types of essential amino acids, or they're really low in specific types of branched chain amino acids. Take corn, for example. Corn is really high in leucine, but it really doesn't have any other types of nutrients in an isolated form. We also know that a fair amount of plant proteins is also bound up in the fibrous part of the plant. We know that our gut struggles to digest this, except for inside of the colon, where the colon turns the fibrous parts into short chain fatty acids, as we've learned in our past videos. So Pinkers took the plant protein profile and blended them together so that the amino acid profile would be almost identical to the MPI profile, and that would equate across both spectrums, and then we could see if the amino acid profile was relatively equal, is there still going to be a positive anabolic response with the plant proteins and with MPI? So how was this actually measured? What the researchers did is they took 24 healthy dudes and they ingested 30 grams of milk protein isolate. They also, at another point, took 30 grams of plant protein blend, and that blend was 15 grams of wheat, 7.5 grams of pea, and 7.5 grams of corn. 5 hours later, they would take muscle biopsy, and on top of that, they would take their plasma concentration of amino acids. So what's the amino acid level inside of their blood? And the results came back that after 5 hours, the amino acid concentration that was in the plasma, that was in the blood, was higher for those that were taking milk protein isolate. But when they were looking at actual muscle protein synthesis, it was equated between both groups. It was equated between the milk protein isolate and between the plant blend. So what were those results? When you compared the ingestion of the milk protein isolate with the plant blend, there was almost no differences between the myofibrillar protein synthesis. So that essentially means that the plant protein blend is almost equal to that milk protein isolate blend. So does this mean that plant protein's better? Does this mean I hate people who eat animals? No. In fact, what this means is that there's some serious implications when it comes down to isolating just one type of plant protein. It also still proves out that dairy is absolutely phenomenal for muscle protein synthesis, because we can see milk protein isolate, we know whey, we know casein are very effective at building muscle. It also tells us that using a plant blend can be pretty freaking effective for getting more swole. Now, one of the things that I was thinking is that if they would do this study again, it'd be very, very interesting to compare that same plant blend. So 15 grams of wheat protein, 7.5 grams of pea protein, 7.5 grams of corn protein. Take that blend and compare that directly with just whey. So not milk protein isolate, but just whey, and then see if there's any difference in that myofibrillar muscle protein synthesis. I also think it'd be pretty freaking cool if they took some of the research from quinoa protein or hemp protein, or even more importantly, there's a lot of stuff coming out lately on potato protein, because that's also high in leucine. So it'd be interesting to see these comparisons between whey and between other blends that might be a little bit more advantageous if you had corn, potato, and soy. It'd be really cool to play around with those two types of proteins and blend everything together and see what type of protein synthesis actually occurs. So in the past, research has also shown us that the amount of amino acids in our plasma, or the amount of amino acids in our blood, can really predict that muscle protein synthesis. But this study from Pink Airs basically tells us there is a point of diminishing returns where you basically get to a level inside of your blood, because the MPI had a higher level of amino acid profile inside the blood compared to the plant protein, but it showed us that all muscle protein synthesis was basically equal. So there is a point of diminishing returns. This also means there is hope for my vegan friend Daryl, as long as he's taking a plant protein blend that has the amino acid profile laid out properly, and he starts squatting a little bit heavier. So what does this mean for you guys? For the plant-based eaters, what this basically tells us is, all right, if there's protein bound up in the fibrous part of plants and we're just eating plants, we should get about 20 to 30% more protein in our diet to ensure that we're getting that extra protein, because it's harder to digest protein out of plant-based food. You can also make up for that by using a plant-based blend that has a complete amino acid profile. So you can look for something that has a blend like wheat, soy, pea, corn, even anything like that with hemp or quinoa as well. You can sort of figure out, all right, is this amino acid profile going to be equal or close to equal to that whey protein, or in this case, milk protein isolate. For the people who eat meat and dairy, this basically proves out that milk protein isolate, whey protein, meat is still really, really good for getting as swole as possible. And maybe we should make fun of the vegan zealots a little less, but probably not. So if you guys want to learn more about muscle protein synthesis, check out this video right here. And if you need help with a nutrition program, pick up our high performance nutrition program to help you guys get more swole. Because remember, freaks, if you guys want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.